please make my wish come true.
Oh, I'd trim trees and deck the hallways if I knew you'd be mine for always.
I'm telling you, there's something going on with his accent. When Mark Steyn is on his 4th annual Yuletide CD, there's no accent. But when he does the Rush Limbaugh show as the host, it's thick. It's thick, real thick, thicker than butter. Something going on there. But it seems to work because of all the guest hosts that Rush has coming through there. Mark Davis, whatever the guy's name is, in Milwaukee. Of all the hosts out there, it is extremely distinctive. So maybe I could learn something from that.
Yeah, no, those accents were just being passed out randomly when they decided to sign up a job lot of marks to be Rush's guest host, and I drew the short straw. Mark Davis, his is fairly easy, but I think it's actually true that you may actually have an almost valid point there, that I think when I sing American songs, my vowel sounds get a little bit more American. That song, by the way, is by Mariah Carey. That's the first time I've ever done a cover of Mariah Carey, and I certainly hope that when she goes into the studio next time, she does a cover of After America, because that would be interesting to hear, I think.
Or to have her do the guest reading.
Yeah, that would be true.
Is there an audio book of After America, your book?
Yeah, there is.
Do you read it?
It's available. It's out there at Amazon and all, and on my website, the audio thing. And I did it myself, and that was murder keeping up the accent for 20 hours.
Oh, I'll bet. At a certain point in a celebrity's development as a personality, they get too big and too important to read their own stuff. I appreciate the fact that Bill Bryson, for instance, still reads his own audiobooks. But so at some point you'll just have to give that up, even if you wanted to do it.
No, it was actually the opposite this time, because last time round, whoever bought the audiobook rights said, this Mark Steyn guy, he's a nobody. Nobody wants to hear some foreign guy read it. So they hired some American actor to read my book. And all the folks who like listening to me on the radio, all 7 of them, wrote in bitterly to complain that this guy wasn't able to do my accent. So in fact, it was the kind of opposite problem there. So this time round, they were anxious to secure me to do the reading.
So how many times, if we have you on the show, if this becomes like a daily thing and you stay on with us for, say, I'm on 3 hours, you stay on with us for 3 hours as my guest every day, do I get a mention at marksteyn.com every time you're on here? This is the first time I've made the big website. I'm quite excited.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's not like, I always have a sneaking admiration for those personalities who monetize every aspect of their existence, like Dick Morris, for example, whom I'm on Fox News with from time to time. Dick Morris monetizes his. I get a lot of emails from Dick Morris. .com without even asking for them, but I didn't realize that people actually pay him to send out emails and things, and I've never been one like that. So I can assure you that if you want to get a mention of my website, it'll cost you about $500,000 less than it would at dickmorris.com.
I find it unnerving that he sends out these tweets that say, we have the right message and we are doing it and I'm thinking, aren't you the guy that brought me Bill Clinton? Wait a second. Had you not been busted in the Mayflower with the prostitute and fallen from grace and fallen out with Bill Clinton, wouldn't you still be over there pushing John Kerry or Barack Obama? It's very unsettling to me.
In fact, I think Bill Clinton actually forgave him for that, but it was something else during, I think it was actually during the Monica thing when he was on the radio in Los Angeles, and I evidently he was in Washington, he was in wherever he was, but it was like a wee bit early in the morning for him. And he suggested that the reason Bill Clinton hit on so many women was to do with certain tendencies of the then First Lady. And at that point, the Clintons figured, the toe sucking and all the rest of it was one thing, but this was like way too much, and it had to stop. And I love that the way. I mean, I think Dick Morris is a great figure in many ways, and certainly he does a lot of consulting in foreign elections overseas and all the rest of it. But I do think the whole consulting I think one should always be slightly skeptical of people who make their living as consultants, because it's a strange, dark profession, and the minute one enters it, I feel that you have to that the rest of us should sort of keep the garlic and crucifix handy.
Well, you are, after all, a hired gun. I mean, we don't know what Gloria Allred thinks. It's whatever she can make most that day. Let's talk about this book, because I know I can't keep you again. I know you'll leave me. So tell me about After America.
Yeah, my thesis on this is that America is not heading for decline. We're way beyond that. And in a sense, we are heading for collapse, because when a 300 million strong superpower goes off the cliff, it lands with a much bigger thud than Iceland or Portugal does. So the stakes are higher here. We're broker than anybody's ever been. As I say right in the prologue, you can actually make the case that by the end of the decade, it's not just that American government has outspent the ability of Americans to fund it, but it will have outspent the ability of the planet to fund it. But already we're paying, just in the interest on the debt, about 80% of the cost of the Chinese People's Liberation Army. I mean, just think about that for a minute. There's no precedent in history for a superpower that just in the interest on its debt is funding the military of its rival. I mean, the Roman Empire, in its worst throes of civilizational decadence, did not propose as a structural feature of life funding through taxation the Visigoth military. That's unique to us. By the middle of this decade, we'll be covering the entire cost of the Chinese armed forces. This is suicide. And if we don't, the thing about suicide is that you can hold the fella back from the edge of the window. You can hold him back from the windowsill. But at a certain point, if he's determined to jump, he's going to jump. And we have been embarked on a suicidal course, and we have got to decide in the next couple of years whether we're going to climb back inside the window or it'll be too late.
Mark Steyn is our guest. When you wake up in the morning, what are the sources of information you use to begin formulating your theories, your theses? What are a couple of sources of information that you trust the most?
Well, it's not a question of trusting them. I think you have to read widely. I mean, for example, I always like, when it comes to the Afghan war or whatever, in particular the Afghan war, I love, just before I go to bed at night, reading the following day's editions of the Pakistani newspapers. In part because they've got a lot of fascinating little conspiracy theories, but also because they're a clue into the window of how the other fellow looks at it. We spend a fortune on intelligence, which is mostly just sort of monitoring. I mean, I'm amazed when you see this fella Clapper, who's the director of national intelligence of the United States, and he says the Muslim Brotherhood is a basically secular organization. I don't know where he got that from. You mentioned Fareed Zakaria. I think maybe he watched Fareed Zakaria for 2 minutes one Sunday morning on CNN, or while he was stuck at the gate at an airport waiting for his flight, and he figured that's all he needs to know. But it's not. It's more difficult, more important than hard facts. It's just figuring out how the other fellow looks at it, which is the great definition of empathy, the ability to see the same event the way another guy would look at it. So that's why I'm a great believer you should read widely. You don't have to start, master strange exotic foreign languages, but there's plenty of English speaking papers out there all over the place, and it's good to kind of get a look at them from time to time.
The book is After America. The author is Mark Steyn. That's Steyn. You can find him at marksteyn.com. You can buy the book directly from him there. The 4th annual Yuletide CD. And it's one of 2 or 3 sources that if you were to ask me, I would say we go to often, not for breaking news, for opinion that is cutting edge and as sound as it gets. Mark Steyn, thanks for being our guest.
My pleasure, Michael.